My name is Simon Bronnett. I'm the Dean and Head of School of Sydney Law School, and it's my pleasure to welcome everyone to this prize giving. It is the fifth year that I have been the Dean at this really incredibly energising and wonderful event of celebrating our amazing students. I'd particularly like to welcome our guest speaker, the Honourable Justice Carissa Lucas-Carlson, who will be one of our inspiring alumna. I'd like to acknowledge also my colleagues in the school who are here. As the students well know, those that are still studying, it's a very busy time of year, and I'm sure some of you will be heading back to pick up the books, knowing we're in Stuvac and how many days till the first exam. Anyway, tonight you can forget about that because it's prize giving. So I'd like to acknowledge not only my colleagues, but also our prize winning students and their family and friends, and also the donors and sponsors. This event, of course, is made possible by the generosity of that group of people who continue to inspire our legal minds with these amazing prizes. And I'll talk a bit about one of them just by way of illustration in my introduction. But first things first, First Nations, I'd like to acknowledge that we are, of course, on Gadigal country and pay respects to elders past, present and emerging, and also acknowledge any Indigenous people in the room. It's a very important aspect of a university to acknowledge the First Peoples and their knowledge. The university last week at our graduation ceremony, I was honoured to be the presenting dean at a ceremony at which we conferred on Tom Calma, a very significant senior Indigenous leader of this country. He was talking extensively about closing the gap today. We have so much more to do, and it's an ongoing challenge. I have to say we, the university and the law school, are committed playing our part through the creation of new scholarships for our First Nations students, new fellowships, and rethinking and redesigning our curriculum. Sydney Law School and the university more generally is supporting now a more diverse group of students than ever. I am probably most proud, 5 years as the Dean, that we are one of the now most diverse enrolling units of the university. We do that also not only through the hard work of engaging with community and schools, but through the generosity of donors who support scholarships and prizes. Prizes are given for a whole range of reasons. Academic merit is often at the forefront. Particularly law firms are very keen to identify who are the top students, and they can do that by obviously sponsoring prizes. But there's a whole range of different scholarships that are acknowledged, and I just want to give you one story. It's the Walter Reed. So how many people, put your hands up, who's had a Walter Reed scholarship? Right, a fair number. And I have to say, Walter Reed in the 1920s was a graduate of the law school. He was the secretary of the Bar Association. He was visiting his solicitor friend, Mr. Allen, and name of a big firm, one of our leading national firms now. And after a night of imbibing, he tripped and fell on the steps of the Allen's house and died. He had a traumatic brain injury and he died. His colleagues at the bar raised a prize, and that was there were a number of Walter Reed prizes, but probably most significantly his sister, who was in England, obviously inherited his estate. She never married, and in her will she left essentially the whole estate to the memory of her brother, Walter Reed, and it was a very significant scholarship that was endowed to support students in their education through purchasing books, magazines, records, in fact, any resources to widen their general education, not just legal textbooks. And I think one of the great things over the last 5 years is that we have supported our local bookshop, Glebe Books, with a significant number of prizes. I have to say it's a story of how we can pay it forward in terms of the support. The beneficiaries of these scholarships remember the support that they have had, and in due course, when time comes and you've paid off your HECS debts, if that ever happens, you'll be able to remember and pay it forward. So we do lots of things, lots of scholarships to support our students. As anyone knows here, we have an extraordinary profile in mooting. We've won more Jessup Cups, the international law moot, than any other law school in the world. That's expensive because the finals, which we tend to get into often, are in Washington, and we are able to support these amazing overseas opportunities through scholarships. The generosity is quite extraordinary, and the Foundation Dean, Pitt Cobbett, there undoubtedly will be Pitt Cobbett prize winners here. Again, another story of a dean who was compassionately committed to supporting his students, even in 1 year forwent his salary. That's a very tough one for me to follow. For a whole year, in order to keep the fees then as low as possible. An inspiring story, really, and I think it's the generosity of graduates, of former teachers, our Foundation Dean, is an embodiment of that pay it forward philosophy. So we celebrate our prize winners tonight. As you know, hashtag Inspiring Legal Minds. That's, as the students know, for the last 5 years, it's kind of been my tagline. It doesn't come out of any professional marketing strategy. It came out of a moment of a play on words. But I do feel that's what you are and what we as the academics try to do. So we are trying to share together the most extraordinary journey of learning with each other. That's what I think, when law school goes right, is what it is. So I'd like to not only acknowledge the amazing, inspiring legal minds, but also the generosity of generations of donors and sponsors of our prizes. So turning to another hashtag Inspiring Legal Mind, I'd like to introduce our special guest speaker, Justice Chrissa Lucas-Carson. So Chrissa is a Supreme Court Justice of the Australian Capital Territory. She struggled through the challenges of air transportation to get here. It's always a challenge, as I well know, having lived in Canberra for 20 years previously. But look, thank the heavens you were able to make it, or thank Virgin. So look, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let me just tell you a bit about Chrissa. In 2018, she was sworn in as a judge of the ACT Supreme Court. She is a member of the Governing Council of the Australian Judicial Officers Association and an Australian judicial representative to the International Association of Judges. Her Honour attended this university, where she graduated LLB in 1985 and a Bachelor of Arts. She was admitted as a solicitor in that year and worked for the Aboriginal Legal Service, Legal Aid Commission, prior to being called to the bar in 1989. She was appointed a barrister with the Public Defenders in 1995 and the Senior Counsel, SC, which is now, of course, the equivalent of the King's Counsel, as it is, more recently, in 2012. And she was appointed an acting Crown Prosecutor in 1996. While she was a barrister, she held part-time positions as a district court judge and as a member of the Administrative Decisions Tribunal between 1997 and 2003. Not content to be a star on the domestic local scene, in 2003 to 2006, she was counsel before the UN International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia in The Hague. During her time as a barrister, she was elected as a Bar Council member and was elected to the executive of the New South Wales Bar Council in 2015. And the vice presidency followed in 2017. In 2015, she was appointed Director of the Law Council of Australia. That's the peak body of all the law societies and legal practitioner bodies around Australia. Her Honour was also a member of the International Bar Association, the IBA's Criminal Law Committee Task Force on Extraterritorial Jurisdiction in 2007. Her Honour was awarded the Woman Lawyer of Achievement Award by the Women's Lawyers Association of New South Wales in 2002, the Senior Barrister Award in 2013, and Barrister of the Year in 2017 by the Women's Lawyers Association of New South Wales. I couldn't think of a more inspiring person to give an address than Chrissa, and I would now invite her to the podium. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dean. Thank you, Professor Bronnett, for your very kind introduction. But I must say, the thought of a lecture from me does not inspire my 15-year-old teenage son, I can assure you. My lectures are not greeted with any degree of great enthusiasm at home, to the point where when I'm remonstrating with him about homework, he says to me, "Sure, you're a judge, Mum, but who judges you?" So I say, look, let me assure you, there is no shortage of contenders. There's not just you. There's the Court of Appeal, there's the High Court, there's the media, there's the community, and by this stage, he's already lost interest in my lecture. Now, today we celebrate your great achievements at law school. Well done, prize winners. Well done, medalists. Well done, my fellow toilers in the law. Now, as we celebrate your achievements, it is also important that we recognise the role that law played in the traditional societies of Australia's First Nations peoples, the first legal systems of this country. And it is important that I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and pay my respects to First Nations elders past and present and emerging as we meet here together on this land to celebrate. Now, this is personally important for me because, as you've heard, I first worked as a lawyer straight out of law school at the Aboriginal Legal Service in Redfern in 1985. Now, please don't do the maths. I should add in that regard that my best subject at law school was not criminal law. It was, in fact, company law. And as a result, I recall a lecturer insisting that obviously I would therefore want to go to a Sydney CBD law, commercial firm, that I would want to proceed there immediately. And I replied, no, I want to work in criminal law and work for the Aboriginal Legal Service and the Legal Aid Commission. My lecturer was apparently horrified and declared, you have a degree from Sydney University, you don't have to do that sort of thing. Now, I know that the University of Sydney lecturers, there's not one like that anymore, surely. What I admire about the University of Sydney is that it holds on to legal excellence, while also confronting the current challenges that we have in all areas of the law right now, and in particular, international criminal law is of so much relevance right now. Now, I take my hat off to all the academic staff here and the professional staff, because frankly, I am so proud to be associated with the University of Sydney. Now, back to our magnificent prize winners. For each of you, this is a great personal achievement. This, of course, is not only about you, it is also about your supporters, your family, your partner, and friends. And now I will speak directly to family, partners, and friends. I know you are exhausted. You are entitled to be proud of your loved one. You have supported your loved ones through the stress of many years of laborious study, and by judicial order, I indicate that you also deserve a prize from the law school. And now to what I have been asked to talk about. I've been asked to say something about failure and success, and to give some advice concerning life and the law. And I will do that. Now, from now, I will do that in less than 15 minutes. My niece is here, and I want you to time me and give me an indication at 13 minutes, okay? Thank you. As we all know, judges and courts must be time efficient, and also that is the time I have been allotted. Mind you, back when I was a barrister, I did go to a Australian Barristers Association conference where a judge was speaking about instituting time limits for barristers, and went over his time limit. But I digress. Now, 13 minutes is from now. Okay. Now, I'm going to make 6 points, and those 6 points are points of advice that are drawn from my bitter and tortured experience. And I wish that somebody had told me before I began my legal career. Now, the first point of advice is about success. There is no real success without failure, and I mean a lot of failure. To fail is essential to success. And I could not put it better than former President of the USA, Barack Obama, who had this to say: "Making your mark on the world is hard. If it were easy, everybody would do it. But it's not. It takes patience, it takes commitment, and it comes with plenty of failure along the way. The real test is not whether you avoid this failure, because you won't. It's whether you let it harden or shame you into inaction, or whether you learn from it, whether you choose to persevere." Or, as my mother Aphrodite would put it, I interpolate here to say that I've come from a Greek migrant background, and I was born in Rockhampton in Queensland. And I remember telling my mother about one of my early cross-examinations as a young lawyer, and I was bemoaning the fact that it wasn't perfect, not perfect like you see on the television. And my mother's reply was this: "Perfect? Nobody's perfect. The only person that was perfect was Christ. Look what happened to him. He was put on the cross. That's what happens when you're perfect." I hasten to add that I'm not a religious person, but I do believe in self-reflection, and I mean daily self-reflection. Of course, coming from a Greek background, I have to quote ancient Greek Stoic philosophers, and then I have to quote ancient Rome, Marcus Aurelius. Now, and what I think is really important here is that you have to acknowledge and self-reflect daily on your flaws as a lawyer and as a human being, because that is the only way in your quest for the best that you will achieve your best. Back in the day, even if I won a trial as a barrister, I would reflect on what could I have done better in that trial. It's just important that in that quest for the best in ourselves, that we reflect daily about who we have been, both as a human being and as a lawyer. All right, one more quote from an ancient Greek philosopher, Aristotle: "We cannot learn without pain." And that's been my experience. Now, my second point of advice is this: back yourself by working hard, and insecurity is part of the deal. Now, when I finished working at the Aboriginal Legal Service and Legal Aid, I'd been there about 4 years, and then I decided I was going to move on from being a solicitor to a barrister. And back in the day, back then, you had to go to a formal ceremony where they would take you off the roll of solicitors, and then they'd put another ceremony where they'd put you on the roll of barristers. And I remember walking down to the Domain car park, and then I wondered if I'd made a big mistake. That was December 1989, and I thought to myself, what if nobody briefs me? What if nobody briefs me? And then I moved forward to going to The Hague and working in international criminal law in between 2003 and 2006. And so then when I was there, I was given the opportunity to go and speak at the American Bar Association. And one of the speakers there was this famous American trial attorney who had actually appeared in the Oklahoma bombing case. And he got up and began what he had to say in this way. He said, trial attorneys, lawyers, solicitors, barristers, what are you? You are just a blob of ego suspended across a chasm of insecurity. Now, never a truer phrase spoken, I must say, and it is part of the human condition, and it is part of the legal condition. Now, insecurity and stress is important, because that's what gets you to do the work and not procrastinate. That's what gets you to be prize winners, and that's what gets you to win in court. Now, you are not going to own that courtroom unless you do the work. You won't get there on your good looks, and you're all good looking. But if you want to own that courtroom, if you want to be able to answer every question that you're asked, then understand that stress is part of what has to happen. It's the old, and remember that when you're in court, it's a blob of ego across a chasm of insecurity. And anybody who tells you they never get insecure, well, you know what? I'm not going to swear. Now, my third point is this. Third point of advice is get out of your comfort zone, right? Now, I remember when I was making the decision back in 2003, will I make this decision to go and work in The Hague? And I was discussing it with one of my colleagues from the Bar Council, the former president of the Bar Council, now Justice Slattery on the Supreme Court. And I had to draw up disadvantages and advantages of both courses, whether to stay in Sydney at the New South Wales Bar or to take up this opportunity in The Hague. And it was quite obvious when I looked at it that when you're looking at an opportunity like that, you go for the opportunity that gives you greater growth out of your comfort zone, whether that's as a lawyer or whether that's as a human being. And it was fascinating. I mean, I was there working with lawyers from all over the world, some who worked in the civil law system, some who worked in the common law system. And what you realise is that it doesn't matter from what system you've come from and you're operating in The Hague, lawyers have one thing in common: question authority. It was insanely long hours. I learnt so much. It was 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. But there was a bonus. I did meet my Swedish husband there, and that's why I have a double-barrel surname. Fortunately, he's not a lawyer, he's an economist, so we don't have those legal arguments at home, which I think is pretty important. Now, the fourth point is this: you've got to have a sense of humour. You really have got to have a sense of humour. And that's the only way you can handle the challenges of the law and the absurdity of life. We're all aware that doctors have casualty ward humour. Lawyers have our own version. And I have so many stories, but I may have to tell you some of them over the champagne subsequently. But I do recall one Texas attorney in The Hague who had a business card that said, "In God we trust, all others we cross-examine." And just one more story from The Hague. So I remember there was a room there where all the defence counsel gathered, trial attorneys, barristers and what have you, in the defence room at the International Criminal Tribunal. And I had just finished cross-examining a military expert. I was burnt out. I was a shell of a human being, pretty much like I am today. But I announced to all and sundry in the legal room, that's it, I'm off to join the circus. I meant I was going home. But one of the lawyers from the former Yugoslavia said to me, I'm not sure what you're saying. Are you saying that you want to leave this circus for another circus? Now, my fifth point of advice. And now I'm going to come to something that was said by JFK, former President of the United States, in a speech he gave to Vanderbilt University in 1963. And he said, "Remember, to whom much is given, much is required. If you are blessed," this is me talking now, "if you are blessed with the privilege of talent or wealth or knowledge, we must benefit others." That is the whole point of privilege. Now, privilege is not for feeling superior to others. And whether you came from privilege or lack of privilege, you are privileged now, and we all have an obligation to give back. And at this point, I want to pay homage to the donors and the philanthropists to the University of Sydney, the believers in education for all, and who fund bright young kids who are from economically deprived backgrounds. That is so important. These are people who understand that everybody is diminished if we live in a polarised society. Education for all benefits all. And the philanthropists understand that a narrower pool of people in positions of power may lead to narrow decision-making. And just in relation to that point about privilege is not for feeling superior to others, I can only quote Chief Justice Gageler of the High Court, who I can remember when I was judging the Jessup moot, and they would have this High Court dinner, and Chief Justice Gageler, then Justice Gageler, gave a speech where he said one of his tips for advocacy was, "Do not behave like you are the smartest person in the room." And that's from somebody who is usually the smartest person in the room. Now, my sixth and final point is this. There are issues, of course, in every profession, and you've got to be part of fixing it. And I just want to quote from the first female High Court Justice of Australia, Mary Gaudron, who's always been a wonderful role model and mentor to me. Now, Mary Gaudron, back in the day, got the University Medal, and she had a great deal of difficulty getting barristers' chambers because of the sexism of the time. But I want to quote from Mary, who gave a great speech at a women lawyers dinner some 20 years ago, and Mary had this to say: "Change is inevitable. We must make it work for us and in the interests of justice. We should seize the opportunities which now present themselves. We must refuse to be exploited, demeaned and humiliated. We need only dare to be different and have confidence in ourselves." Fighting words from Justice Gaudron. Now, where I want to conclude is this. Where am I time-wise? Excellent. Now, so my advice to prize winners, university medalists, all, is to use your legal skills wisely and generously. Use them with integrity. Be a beacon to others who practice in the law. Combine intellect with humanity and ethics. And let me tell you, that's something that artificial intelligence can't do. And you are better than artificial intelligence. Emotional intelligence has sometimes been widely overlooked as a crucial legal skill. But let me make this point. Top lawyers with high intellect and people skills, IQ and EQ, will always thrive, no matter how pervasive technology becomes in legal delivery. Now, I could go on and on. You can probably see that. But finally, for any of you who has felt the sting of being underestimated for not going to the right school, or having the wrong background, or the wrong gender, or what have you, I say this. Just think to yourself, underestimate me. That'll be fun. And that has worked, of course, for Mary Gaudron. It's worked for Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and it will work for you. And I'll say, use your unfair detractors as fuel to propel you on your journey. Don't internalise, externalise, is my advice. And then I'm going to end with a bit of Star Trek. Live long and prosper.
Look, thank you for that extraordinary speech. I think there's a lot of sound and there's a Trekkie. I think that's a very good way to think about it. One of the insights about being underestimated, I think in any group like this, there are people who feel that they're imposters in this room, including possibly the Dean. I've been faking it for 5 years, keep doing it to the end. because I didn't come from any educated background, first in family, like many many who actually strive and succeed. No one in the family that went to university, no one was connected with the law, except, of course, those that had brushes with the law. Coming from a London and Belfast background, there was no shortage of family members that could have benefited from having a criminal lawyer in the family, frankly. But look, I think the key thing here is that I'm the benefit of scholarships, of then, as many of my generation, same as Chris, of a free education. I know it's less free now. That just underscores the absolute importance of scholarships and our effort to create equality of opportunity. Education is such a game changer in terms of changing people's life aspirations. Look, I'm going to hand over now to another extraordinary alumna. For the students, I don't think she will need introduction, but I'll give her one anyway. Professor Penny Crossley. Yay! And this is probably another opportunity to congratulate, I'll say that again, Professor Crossley. Yay! Penny was promoted to professor, which is no easy thing in the institution that you were a student, I have to say. It's probably easier when you move around, like I in fact have, over the course of my 35 years as an academic. So Penny is an expert on energy and resources law. She'll be known to everyone because she's also taught in many of the foundational units. She's an extraordinary teacher. As an alumna, she was an extraordinary before she was an alumna and a teacher and a professor, she was a student here who, of course, organised everything, as she still does. She served as the vice president of the Student Union and SALS during her time as a student here. She's mentored an enormous number of people. I mean, when we created this role of Director of Alumni Engagement, which was a new concept, it was really, there was only one person who was qualified for it. It was Penny. She's got an enormous network of extraordinary people inside the law, across academia, and it's global. I mean, she'll tell you she's off to London to host an alumni event. We've got the most extraordinary international global network. What was the expression you used, Chris? It was like, there's no learning without pain. I wonder if we can have that as the law school motto. Notwithstanding that, the incredible pressure and hard work, we do drive you very, very hard, as you know. You come out usually with a huge affection for the place, maybe more in retrospect than during the time, as I've kind of learned through talking to alumni, but they're all bonded in the same experience of, we really worked hard, we learned a lot. It wasn't always happy days. There were some pretty grim days of working very hard. But those networks continue and strengthen over the course of a lifetime. They're also cynical enough to say, when we turn up and host an event as we did in Hong Kong just a month ago, you know, you've organised this event. When are you going to ask us for money? Because they're all top lawyers and, you know, running. And I said, we're not yet. But what we wanted to do is just to, in a sense, celebrate and bring these people who, some were graduating the year before and are working in Hong Kong, others had been there for 35 years. And we just wanted to bring them together. What a powerful and amazing group. And just, I know that they will work to create fantastic opportunities for our students, creating internships. Every place we've done this, someone will come up way too young and say, I've included Sydney Law School in my will. And my reaction, along with Peter's, and I'll talk about Peter in a moment, is usually the same, which is, you've done what? You're too young to be doing that. But it's the way in which people recognise the incredible opportunities, that point about privilege, and what it requires in terms of acknowledging that and repaying it. So there was only one director of alumni engagement that was possible. It was Penny. I'm also grateful to Penny for not only driving an extraordinary agenda of activity, both local and global. I also, having done graduation recently, and we're quite a small school, it's actually quite a large school, in fact, I have to pronounce all the names at graduation. And I have to say, that's the most stressful job that you could ever imagine. And I apologise to anyone that I have mangled or someone will mangle your name. But I am confident that Penny will do a fantastic job on pronunciation. So with that introduction, I will hand over to Penny to say a few words about the campaigns and the programmes that we've got in this space. Penny, thank you.
Thank you very much for those kind words. I actually went to preschool here, rather embarrassingly. So I have been around the place for a very long time, but you needn't worry, like all good law alumni, I went overseas and then I've come back. And I hope many of you have a similar experience and do actually come back. One of the most wonderful things about the law school is no matter where we go in the world, you have an instant connection with these people. And our alumni are very kind, they're very generous, they're always willing to help. And that's been something that I think has been really rewarding in this role. You know, as Simon said, we're really doing a very strong push at the moment to broaden out the breadth of students who come to the law school, really making sure that the law school is reflective of what our society actually looks like, because we know that if you have lawyers in a society that reflect the society that they're from, it makes for a better and more just society, and that's what we're really aiming for here. We've also done some incredible work over the last couple of years, really celebrating our women of the law school, and that's something that I look forward to continuing as we go forward. So I just want to say, again, congratulations to everyone for being here. It's lovely to see some familiar faces. One of the lovely things about this is my favourite night of the year in the law school calendar. I was trying to explain to international colleagues just before I came down here what prize night actually means for the law school. And I likened it to the Oscars. And they looked slightly concerned and they said, well, what does that make you? And I said, I think I'm the poor man's Jimmy Kimmel. But I really do value this night because, as you can see, we've got fabulous colleagues who's put huge amounts of effort into helping our students. We've got our wonderful donors who so generously support these prizes year in and year out. We've got our prize winners, we've got our family and friends, and we've also got our distinguished guests. And many alumni are here tonight as well, and I just want to acknowledge you. It's always lovely to see alumni amongst the parents and friends who come back for our prize winners. One of the slight changes I'm going to make this evening when reading out the prizes is I've chosen a couple of students interspersed just to reveal a few facts about them. This is good for the students. This is going to be like when I call on students in class and you don't know if you're going to be the one picked on. The reason why I want to do this is I think sometimes when we think about prize winners, and certainly when I speak to some people in the firms, they say those students who just get the HDs and the Ds, all they do is study. And one of the things I want to point out to you tonight is these students are exceptional in so many other areas. In fact, I would argue tonight we have never had so many university medalists currently sitting in this room. The cohort who have graduated in the last 2 years have seemingly swept the university medalists in every other field of the university, and you've got them all here tonight. So please let nothing happen to this lecture theatre. We'll be vastly intellectually poorer for it. So our first prize tonight, roping everyone in, goes to Dylan Adams, who wins the Gustav and Emma Bondi Postgraduate Prize for Legal Theory. So please join us. Our next prize winner, in addition to being on the Sal's executive twice, the editor of the Sydney Law Review, a finalist for Law Student of the Year in 2023, and that's a national finalist, and the AFR Top 100 Future Leader in both 2022 and 2023, also managed to achieve the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. And for those of you who don't know what that means that they averaged over 80 in all of their law subjects, which is, by any measure, a remarkable achievement. So please join me in congratulating Mahmood Al-Rifi. Our next winner this evening won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance, Caitlin Aman. The winner of the Roy Frederick Turner AM Scholarship, Josie Bennett. Our next winner interned twice during her degree for the Sydney Centre for International Law and also for the health law research, and is also a champion mooter. Sophia Blakely is on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. The Keith Steele Memorial Prize for International Commercial Arbitration goes to Piyush Bahara. The George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Master of Administrative Law and Policy goes to Louise Brown. The George and Matilda Harris Scholarship number 2B for Proficiency in Combined Law 3 goes to Matthew Catanzariti. The Rosswaite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship goes to Jaslyn Chu. The University of Sydney Foundation Prize for Australian International Taxation goes to Isabella Chin. The C.A. Hardwick Prize in Constitutional Law, and I'd just like to acknowledge that we have a family member of the Hardwick family, Nicholas Hardwick, here with us tonight to celebrate. And the Pitt Cobbett Prize for Constitutional Law were won by Timothy Collins. The J.H. McClemens Memorial Prize number 2 in Criminology was won by Meg Connell. Now, our next awardee has achieved rather a lot, so bear with me. The Nancy Gordon Smith Prize for Honours at Graduation, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2, and the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance goes to Fayen Yufei Sai. The W.A. Cook, Jane Cook and Alfred Godfrey Scholarship was won by Immaculada Combrera Condi. Sorry. The Caroline Munro Gibbs Prize for Torts was won by Adele Dang. The Bruce Panton McFarlane Prize for Insolvency Law was won by Yi Nuo Dong. The George and Matilda Harris Scholarship number 2A, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize 2, and the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance, Emma Downham. The Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2 and the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance, Samuel Caleb Dunn. Our next awardee was a peer mentor for first-year law students during her time at law school, and she's also won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. I can't think of a better possible peer mentor than Molly Eason. The Pitt Cobbett Prize for Administrative Law goes to Maya Esawaran. The Marjorie O'Brien Prize was won by Lillian Gibson. Now, our next awardee tells me that he spent his time at law school playing mixed netball and binge watching The Sopranos, proof that our law students are truly versatile. Campbell Fredericks has also won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. The King and Wood Mallison's Prize in Banking and Financial Instruments, and I'd like to acknowledge that we've got David Lamb, who's an international expert in cross-border finance, with us tonight representing KWM. The Monaghan Prize for Evidence and the Margaret Ethel Peden Prize in Real Property was won by Coco Charlotte Annalise Frolick. The Alan Bishop Scholarship was won by Danielle Haj Musa. Shinyi Ha participated in the Law Reform Support Program during law school and also was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Raul Herrera Araya won the Roswaite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. The University of Sydney Law School Dean Scholarship was won by Jessica Herskovich. The John Warwick McCluskey Memorial Prize for the highest mark in Federal Constitutional Law and Family Law has been won by Tia Hosman. The Tomonori Akaka Memorial Prize has been won by Yang Zhao. Our next awardee has also been very busy. Matthew Joyce has won the Sir Dudley Williams Prize, the Nancy Gordon Smith Prize for Honours at Graduation, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2, and was also, unsurprisingly, on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. The Wigram Allen Scholarship for the Juris Doctor has been won by Sarah Knight. Kanisha Coe has won the C.A. Coghlan and A.N. Littlejohn Scholarship for the Juris Doctor. Now, our next awardee, in addition to finding the time to be the principal cellist for the University of Sydney Symphony Orchestra, and also conducting research for the Australian Human Rights Commission as a student researcher on anti-protest laws, has also managed to work themselves onto the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance, Cherie Kwan. The Judge Ralph J. Pedreo Research Scholarship in Common Law has been won by Vered Larampui Chakchak. Priska Lamb has won the Edward and Emily McWhinney Prize in International Law. Samantha Leckie, who I must say on the internet is a bit of an international woman of mystery, tricky to track down, has won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Lucinda Lester has won the Nancy Gordon Smith Memorial Prize for Postgraduate LLM by Coursework and the Georgia Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Master of Laws in the LLM. Vanessa Lee has spent some time during her studies on exchange as a law student in Utrecht, and she was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Kate Lumsdane has won the Judge Ralph J. Pedreo Practical Law Legal Training Scholarship for Marrickville Legal Centre. Michael Marr was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Nicole Maddox has won the Judge Samuel Redshaw Prize for Administrative Law. Juliet Marchant, in addition to volunteering for the Sydney Writers' Festival, is a podcast host and is about to start her PhD in political thought at Harvard at the Kennedy School, and has also been on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Now, John Menzies is also the Secretary of our Student Law Society, which is not a small role, and in addition to that has also won the Edward and Emily McWhinney Prize in International Law. Santiago Morande has won the Rosswaite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Law Scholarship. Lucy Nason has won the Ivan Roberts Scholarship. Sam Oliver Nelson Tyres has won the G.W. Hyman Memorial Prize in Labour Law. Catherine Ewan has won the John Geddes Prize for Equity and the E.D. Roper Memorial Prize No. 1 for Equity and Corporations Law. Kim Newen, in addition to being a champion negotiator and a peer mentor, has also made it onto the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Yauda Nozad Mahavir has won the Wigram Allen Scholarship for the Juris Doctor. Not here, sorry. Okay. We can still clap. Sean O'Byrne has volunteered throughout his degree at various environmental community justice organisations and is also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Hugh O'Dwyer has won the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Master of International Law. Liam Ogburn has won the Justice Peter Healy Scholarship. Saskia O'Neill has won the Ross Waite Parsons Postgraduate Coursework Scholarship. Mei-Ling Payton has won the E.M. Mitchell Prize for Contracts. Eric Pavlou has won the Ashurst Prize in Australian Income Tax and is also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Michaela Perry has won the Sir John Peden Memorial Prize for proficiency in foundations of law, federal constitutional law, international law and real property. Lachlan Pickering has won the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Juris Doctor, the Ian Joy Prize in Law and the Zoe Hall Memorial Scholarship. Eric Pridgeon has won the Thomas P. Flattery Prize for Roman Law and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Theodora Rame has won the Alan Bishop Scholarship and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Louis Ribier-Airmal has won the David Burnett Memorial Scholarship in Social Justice. Nicholas Rose has won the George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Master of Health Law. Gwen Rumble has won the Judge Ralph J. Pedreu First Nations Scholarship for the Bachelor of Laws. Jack Shanahan has won the J.H. McClemens Memorial Prize No. 1 in Criminology and the Tu Fu and Ruby Lee Memorial Prize in Criminology. Liam Slaber has won the Christopher C. Hodgkiss Prize in Competition Law and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Our next student has been doing some really interesting research in his spare time and studied juror perceptions of witnesses with autism spectrum disorder versus neurotypical witnesses and how that is actually played out in a mock jury situation. Interesting person to have a chat to. So Joshua William Snook Smith is on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Amankaya Stapleton has won the University of Sydney Law School Dean's Scholarship. Leo Su has won the Zoe Hall Memorial Scholarship and was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Sophie Tarr has not only works at Legal Aid, has won 6 moots and client interviewing competitions, alternative dispute resolution competitions, was best speaker twice while at law school, also found the time to volunteer at the Public Defender's Office, and she has won more prizes than you can poke a stick at. So I'm just going to read them out. We've got the Mr Justice Stanley Viertus Memorial Prize for Family Law. We've got the David Levine Prize in Defamation Law, and I just want to acknowledge that we have David's wife Agnes and his daughter Judith here with us tonight, so thank you very much. The John George Daly Prize 1B, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2, the Judge Ralph J. Pedreu Practical Legal Training Scholarship for Redfern Legal Centre, And not surprisingly, she was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Congratulations. Our next prize winner is also a Thredbo volunteer on the ski patrol in their spare time. Olivia Taylor was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. The George and Matilda Harris Scholarship Prize for the Master of Environmental Law has been won by Ellen Tilbury. Min Kwan To has won the Margaret Dalrymple Hay Prize for Law, Lawyers and Justice and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Goranka Trifkovic has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 and the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Linnea Tucker has won the University of Sydney Law School Dean Scholarship. Maya Vazic has also been quite busy. She's won the Edward John Cully Prize for Proficiency in Real Property and Equity, the Andrew M. Clayton Memorial Prize Clayton Utes for Federal Constitutional Law and the Legal Profession. We're still reading here. The George and Matilda Harris Scholarship No. 1 for Proficiency in Law 2, and she also won the Zoe Hall Memorial Scholarship, so please join me in congratulating. Yeah. Claire Veal has won the Walter Reed Memorial Prize No. 2 and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Ravi Prakash Vyas has won the W.A. Cook, Jane Cook and Alfred Godfrey Scholarship and the Walter Reed Scholarship. Rebecca Wall has won the David Burnett Memorial Scholarship in Social Justice. Harriet Walker is one of our extraordinary Vismooters and is also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Boran Regina Wang has won the Ashurst Prize in Advanced Taxation Law. Rachel Wang has won the E.D. Roper Memorial Prize No. 2 for Equity and Corporations Law and was on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Wendy Wu, in addition to participating in our social justice mentoring scheme and playing social netball, has also won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. Angela Zhu has won the David Burnett Memorial Scholarship in Social Justice. Sean Yalchinkaya has won the Charles Herbert Curry Memorial Scholarship for Law Without Walls Sprint Program. Vivian Yang has also won a Charles Herbert Curry Memorial Scholarship for the Law Without Walls Sprint Program. Damien Young has won the Miller Prince Prize in Advanced Corporate Law and the Julius and Raker Stone Award. Channing Zhao has won the Tomonori Akaka Memorial Prize. Fei Fan Zhong has won the Law Press Asia Prize for Chinese Law Studies, No. 1. Angia Zhou has won the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. And Wentong Zhou has won the C.A. Coghlan and A.N. Littlejohn Scholarship for the Juris Doctor. Our next awardee is one of my colleagues. And one of the lovely things that I get to do, along with our Associate Dean Education and another colleague from the Central University, is to judge the Law School's Teaching Awards. And to those of you who have been taught by Adam Waldman, the fact that he has won the Award for Teaching Excellence in the Early Career category for his substantial development of curricula, resources and services that reflect a command of the field. And the citation reads that Adam demonstrated strong and active engagement with legal education research in relation to various elements of the student learning experience and a genuine commitment to develop learning activities in the unit to benefit his students. And indeed, one of the other judges wrote, Adam is a wonderfully student-centred teacher on an outstanding trajectory of growth and impact. So please join me in congratulating Adam Waldman. It is now my very great pleasure to introduce you to our university medalists. These are our 151st university medalists equally. So I'll begin by reading out the list of prizes and then inviting them to come up individually, and then they will come up again and provide their addresses. So our first medalist this evening is Lachlan Muir. Lachlan wrote his honours thesis on restitution for services rendered under contracts tainted by illegality. He also edited the Sales Law and Society Journal while at law school, and has won the R.G. Henderson Memorial Prize, the Joy Prize in Law, and the Nancy Gordon Smith Prize for Honours at graduation. So please join me in congratulating Lachlan. Our other university medalist, who is proof that one university medal in life is clearly just never enough. Patrick Ryan is actually a dual university medalist in both classics and law, and his honours thesis was on assessing pre-trial silence, the logic, construction and utility of Section 89A of the Evidence Act, or to put that into plain English, it's basically a thesis examining inferences from a defendant's failure to give evidence before trial. That's really what he did. He has also won an extraordinary list of prizes. So he won the Paul Byrne SC Memorial Prize for Advanced Criminal Law, the Sybil Morrison Prize for Jurisprudence Part 2, the John George Daly Prize 1A, the R.G. Henderson Memorial Prize, the Joy Prize in Law, the Nancy Gordon Smith Prize for Honours at Graduation, the Walter Reed Memorial Prize number 2, and not surprisingly, was also on the Dean's List of Excellence for Academic Performance. I'd be worried if he wasn't. Please join me in congratulating Patrick Ryan. I would now like to invite Lachlan and Patrick up to the lectern to provide their medalist addresses.
Dean, Judge, distinguished guests, prize winners, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honour to have the opportunity to congratulate all of you who have won a prize tonight. Particularly at this law school, it is something to be particularly proud of. Similarly, I'd like to congratulate Patrick. Although we didn't have many classes together, I've come to know Patrick through friends over the last 6 years and feel incredibly privileged to be sharing this award with him. In an attempt to find a source of material for tonight's speech, I decided an appropriate starting point would be my notes from the first class of Foundations of Law. I had considered quoting from an early assignment, but upon rereading my attempt to distinguish between ratio and obiter dicta, formed the view that the likely harm to any career in the law outweighed the amusement which it might otherwise provide to you. Those class notes, creatively headed lecture, had at the top the question, how does the law control us? That proved a somewhat ominous start to law school. In many ways, it also proved an omen for the 5 years that were to come. Upon further reflection, however, this question seems to have been a most appropriate starting point. From it arises, I suppose, a more fundamental question about the extent to which the law can govern in circumstances where it itself is opaque and evolving. The ambiguity of the law can be seen firsthand in many of the seminal cases we learn at this law school. One notable culprit is the so-called ambiguity gateway to the acceptance of parole evidence. The irony of its name, I'm sure, will not be lost on those of you studying for your contracts exam next week. But even cases where the answer might seem initially to be intuitive are often attended by ambiguity. One would think that a person who drinks a ginger beer containing a decomposed snail would have a claim against the manufacturer almost as of right. But prior to Donoghue, in the absence of any subsisting contract, the question of liability was most unclear. Undoubtedly, therefore, one of the key challenges of law school lies in the ambiguity of the exercise one is asked to undertake. The important corollary, however, is that it provides the occasion to grapple with and over time grow comfortable in that ambiguity. Now, a few days ago, I was texted a video of a commencement address recently delivered by the comedian Jerry Seinfeld at an American university. And you may ask why. That would be a fair question. On one account, a family member had grown so concerned at my apparent lack of progress with this speech that they felt I needed some inspiration. How wrong they were. I proceeded to watch the address, and at one stage, he turned to the matter of artificial intelligence, a topic commonly raised and one that students are perhaps tired of hearing. He labelled it as humanity's most embarrassing invention, tantamount to an admission that we cannot or are too lazy to do the work ourselves. In the context of the law, I think there might be a more subtle response. Unlike many other professions, legal conundrums tend not to be reducible to definitive answers. Uncertainties arise, views differ, and the value of the process of reasoning which law schools such as this one teach is that it allows one to prosper in that uncertainty. And that, in turn, is what permits the law to take shape. I'll conclude with the most important part, which are some thank yous. First, to David Winterton, who introduced me to the laws of restitution and later supervised my honours thesis. I am most grateful. Secondly, to all my professors who took the time to make the law something worth learning, and in particular David Rolfe, who brought torts and a few years later the law of defamation to life. Thirdly, and most importantly, I thank my friends and family, but in particular my mum and Liz, without whom none of this would have been possible. Thank you, and I hand over to Patrick.
Thank you, Lachlan, and congratulations. Thank you also, Penelope, for your very kind introduction. I think I know why you sent me a LinkedIn request earlier this afternoon now. And congratulations also to everyone here, whether you are a student, family member, teacher, or anyone else who has supported the students in this room. You all have much reason to be proud. Having recently graduated at a ceremony where both the Dean and guest speaker promised that AI would not replace our creativity, with apologies to Lachlan, I was curious what ChatGPT would recommend I cover in this address. Amongst other things, it said gratitude, passion for law, and inspiration, which is admittedly not a bad start, but not strikingly original. So I think we're safe from the robot uprising for now. But in all seriousness, I do owe a great deal of gratitude to my family, teachers, and friends for helping me through law school in one piece. To my parents, thank you for tolerating me as much as supporting me. I'm sure all the parents in this room know the infectious stress of exam time, but if you're here tonight, I trust it's paid off. To my supervisor, David Hamer, thank you for your expert guidance shared over many coffees at Taste, without which my thesis would not have taken shape. I trust we'll have that celebratory beer in due course. And very importantly, thank you to Alison for always being there to confide in, to laugh with, and frankly, to keep me sane despite my many worries. Much love. As typical of law school, I have a tight time limit for this speech, it's a bit less than 15 minutes. So I really want to convey one thing to you all, and that is to take care of yourselves and each other. I think it's easy as a law student to acquire a myopic perspective on things, not just from the sheer amount of reading that we do, but through the whirlwind of assignments, tests, gossip, and clamour about clerkships that often looms large in our minds. I remember waking up to news of the Queen's death on the same morning of the online corporations law exam. It was a strange experience. Vague recognition of the significance of the event gave way to worries about disclosure documents and corporate agents. Confusion ensued when a glitch stopped the question paper from being available, followed by ill-founded hope that the exam had been cancelled, then anxiety when it was rescheduled for 15 minutes later, and finally renewed confusion at having to advise the imaginatively named Mr. Grew about the not-so-imaginatively named Finco Proprietary Limited's breaches of the Corporations Act. In some sense, I think this experience was emblematic of law school. As much as its pace and intensity can be exciting, sometimes this makes it difficult to keep in touch with yourselves, with those closest to you, and with life generally. In spite of that, for those of you still carrying on your journey in this place, and for those of you embarking on your next steps, please take time for yourselves and each other away from work and study as you can. I promise it's worth it, and I say this even as someone who can't remember whether I've only had a single-digit number of all-nighters throughout my studies. My fondest memories in this institution are not poring over the intricacies of the Evidence Act, although, as Penelope has already told you, I did write 12,000 words arguing why one of its provisions ought to be removed. Yes, studying law is a fantastic way to learn about the world that will make you interrogate everything through a new lens, including by pondering whether Coles no longer sells ice cream, but vanilla-flavoured frozen dessert, because of the misleading and deceptive conduct risks of marketing so watered-down a product. But chiefly, it is the laughs, company, and conversations, intellectual or otherwise, shared with the many amazing people I've met in this place that make my time here what it was. To that end, I want to conclude by sharing a very early memory from law school. Before starting, I sent a long and anxious email to Cameron Stewart expressing worry about a clash between foundations of law and intermediate classical Greek. I felt sheepish after receiving a reply within 2 minutes to note that, amazingly, lectures are recorded. But when I did attend that first law lecture in person anyway, I was struck that Cameron made a point of referring to us students as colleagues. Pursuing that collegiality, finding great friends, and learning that scary professors are not so scary after all has made law school so worth it, as challenging as it is. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, everyone. It just falls on me to close the ceremony and invite everyone to Friday evening to let your hair down, and the canapes and drinks are warming in the outside. But I've just got a few thanks just to offer. I think it's so very important to not only congratulate you once again, but to thank the people without whom this event couldn't have taken place. Carla, where's Carla? Carla Viola. Carla is our events manager, and I honestly have to say we are so blessed in this law school that there is a team, and Ashley Joe. Ashley is here. Do an extraordinary job in bringing about an event that you'll never get in your other faculty, frankly. This is the best event in the university, I have no doubt. But also, everyone who receives a prize, there's actually another professional staff member. It's not just the person who usually died that left a legacy in their will. It's actually Peter Finneran, who actually plays a really significant role in ensuring that our prizes, sometimes which was established as £50 in 1935 and then made into $50 and never changed you'll notice that your prizes are usually a little bit better than that now. This man keeps them up to date, fit for purpose. And I'd just like to acknowledge the amazing transformation we've had with our scholarships. So many of the new scholarships that we've created are really down to Peter's role as driving our strategic engagement, very committed to our diversity agenda and supporting our Indigenous students. And I just want to, I think we should acknowledge Peter. Thank you, Judge. Fantastic job. Thank you, Penny. And look, really, thank you, colleagues, all the attendants as well, too many to mention, because I know you all want to get to the drink. I do think we do have to keep the prize winners. So family, you go, enjoy. We're going to hold on to all the prize winners because we're going to take a group photo, as is our tradition. So everyone, please enjoy. And I will come out and join with you in just a second.